And I think one thing that most of the people I've come in contact with of late, whether it's online or in person, is a sense of no control. That's one thing about how we fool ourselves, don't we? We fool ourselves into believing that we have control over our lives. And to a certain degree, I guess we do as we go through life. We control a lot of us, not everybody in this country, not everybody who lives a life in the United States. And usually the varying factors have to do with economic status and race and education level. But at some point, most of us feel, well, I've got some control. I can decide to do this or that. I can decide to go here or go there. I can decide to do this particular set of, or involve in this particular set of circumstances or not. Most of which, of course, is illusion. But we still get involved in that illusion of control. You know, we start out, I've read from, I think, African Genesis, or one of the books I read that had such a profound effect on me, the illusion of central position. I think that's what it was called. The illusion of central position that babies have, that toddlers have, that children have, until you eventually start to realize that you are not, in fact, the center of the universe. And I think at that point is when it becomes necessary to develop this false sense of, well, I do have some control over what happens. I realize I'm not the center of the universe, but I've got to have control. I've got to be able to control my destiny, or at least divert the things coming my way that might hurt me. So we go with that, don't we? The idea that we have control until something like this occurs. Until something like this occurs. I'm talking about the pandemic. Now, the truth is, if we were as conscious of climate change as we were about the pandemic, we would also realize that that is an example of no control. It's beyond the point of control. Oh, Christ, don't go there, Malloy. You'll just get yourself even more anxious. But the pandemic occurs, and at the beginning, it's like Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's 5 stages. Is there 5 stages of denial or acceptance of death? But at the beginning of the pandemic, especially with the kind of orange ape leadership that this country has, the first thing is denial. This is not happening. It's not going to happen. Don't worry about it. Nothing's going to happen. It's okay. And as we work through those stages, we become aware that yes, it is happening. Yes, it is coming. And there is nothing we can do about it. I think that hit me when I realized that this was, as the name suggests, a novel coronavirus, a new one, with no immunities anywhere in the human species. Nobody had any. It was just a matter of who was going to get sick, and of the people who got sick, who was going to die. I mean, that's it. Sure, some people would recover. A lot of people have. Unlike what the orange ape said yesterday, that 99% of people who get this, it's a harmless, what did he say, harmless virus? God. But, so this thing hit us. And we had ample time to prepare. We did. But because of the lack of leadership and the cowards who make up the Orange Apes government, nothing was done. And it made the entire country as vulnerable as any population in lockdown. United States, we had the most cases, the most deaths. The graph that shows that our number of cases and deaths is continuing to go up. Well, in so much of the rest of the world, it has leveled off and continued to go down. The death toll in New Zealand, I think on Saturday, was 0 from the coronavirus. Number of cases in the United States has been The 7-day average of case totals in the U.S. set a record for the 27th straight day yesterday, Sunday. This is so frightening to me because even the illusion of control is gone for me. I don't know how it works for you. But whatever little shreds of the illusion of control that I might have had about my life, and it's not just been because of the coronavirus. There's some personal things that have been happening over the past 3 or 4 months that have also driven the point home that once you think you have control of your life, it's just about the point where you have lost control of your faculties, your ability to reason, because reason will tell you that you have no control over anything. Oh, maybe where you're going to have dinner tonight, right? Or what you're going to cook, or are you going to wear sandals or sneakers out because it's going to be hot today? Okay. But beyond that, so here we are, totally vulnerable population, completely vulnerable. Well, we hope scientists are working on a vaccine and possibly some sort of drug combination that will mitigate the destruction of this disease. But at this moment, as we're talking, such a thing doesn't exist. Trump, the ape, said Saturday, that his administration had made, quote, a lot of progress in combating the pandemic. And the ape was speaking at an Independence Day event on the White House lawn, and the ape said the country had, quote, learned how to put out the flame of the coronavirus. And he went on to say this, our strategy is moving along well. It goes out in one area and rears back its ugly face in another area, but we have learned a lot. End quote. And the ape continued to say that testing had inflated the new case numbers, right? I mean, think of this. Well, we gotta cut back on the testing so we don't have so many cases. I mean, what does he believe? That if you don't test, there's no infection? Oh, Christ, don't even try to go there, Mike. But his claim that testing inflates new case numbers, that's a claim that is such bullshit, but is contradicted by the rising positivity rates. What was the area? It went from 10% to 25% of the people tested. That has nothing to do with the number of people tested. It has to do with the number of people infected. And of course, that kind of bullshit is just thrown in the garbage by epidemiologists. But having a sick son of a bitch like Trump as the leader saying this stuff, it forces public health experts to stress that the recent surge in cases is not the result of expanded testing capacity. Former FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb, who has been making regular appearances on MSNBC because he is just shocked out of his mind. Yeah, he worked for Trump until he said and left. This is what he said. Quote, when the virus is under control, testing doesn't uncover more cases. It's a tool for keeping the epidemic at bay, end quote. Well, Dr. Gottlieb, as you know, that's science. That's rational thought, rational statement. There's no place for that in the Orange Apes America with the Orange Apes pandemic raging across the fruited plain. Gottlieb also has been, and he's one who really particularly singularly scares the hell out of me, but He's voicing doubts about this country's ability to slow the pandemic. Doubt about our ability to slow it. He's been saying that waves of infection will probably persist through the rest of the year. And he said that the situation is at least as bad as it was during the height of the outbreak in New York earlier this year. What makes it worse now is back then, this country was not dealing with multiple centers of infection, and we are now. On Face the Nation, Gottlieb said this, quote, "We're not going to really be able to crush this virus at this point because there's just too much infection around. We really don't seem to have the political will to do it." The political will. Politics has now infected, no pun intended, the coronavirus. Thanks to the ape. Thanks to this rotten son of a bitch who is the President of the United States. It's just not plausible. This isn't possible. This isn't happening. That's what I want to scream into the night here in the well, we're still in the foothills of North Georgia mountains, but we have changed locations. But that's what I just feel like screaming that. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcasts. You have your choice. You can listen to the ranting with the audio podcast or listen and watch me lose control with a video podcast subscription. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.